politically expedient but is detrimental to India's larger national interest? We'll look at that in detail on the news track tonight.
Government scraps lateral entry drive. Opposition claims vindication. Quota politics trumps policy plan. Political slugfest over appointments. Big focus on News Track.
On the show tonight, three high-profile members of parliament will be joining us to debate the lateral entry into government services and why this is being politically stonewalled by the opposition. Shashank Mani Tripathi of the BJP, Konda Vishweshwar Reddy from Chevala in Telangana, also from the BJP, will be squaring off against Karthi Chidambaram of the Congress from Shivaganga in Tamil Nadu. So that big debate coming up on the news track tonight. The Modi government, as you now know, has scrapped its lateral entry plan, but the debate over the decision continues. The opposition is claiming vindication, with Rahul Gandhi saying he will continue to protect reservation at all costs. The government says it wants to ensure that lateral entries through the UPSC are consistent with the principles of social justice and reservation. Is lateral entry into the civil services a good idea that's now been beaten by caste politics? Or did the government err in pushing this through in a rush in the first place and didn't think this through fully? Take a look at this report and then a big debate.
The Narendra Modi government bows to pressure. The centre has directed the UPSC to cancel advertisement inviting applications to fill up 45 posts through lateral entry after the move triggered a political controversy. The letter sent by Department of Personnel and Training states it is important that the constitutional mandate towards social justice is upheld so that deserving candidates from marginalized communities get their rightful representation in government services. The letter to UPSC says that positions mentioned in the ad are treated as specialized and designated as single cadre posts, and that there was no provision for reservation in these appointments. With the rollback, the government wants to ensure that lateral entries through UPSC are done in a transparent, institutionalized manner, and so that reservations for SCs, STs, and OBCs are ensured.
2014 से पहले किस तरह से यूपीए की सरकार कांग्रेस के जो निर्णय होते थे उनमें रिजर्वेशन के प्रिंसिपल्स का कोई ध्यान नहीं रखा जाता था। मोदी जी ने यूपीएससी के जरिए से लैटरल एंट्री लेना एक ट्रांसपेरेंसी लाने का माध्यम था और अब उसमें रिजर्वेशन का प्रिंसिपल लाने से सोशल जस्टिस का और संविधान के प्रति प्रतिबद्धता भी स्पष्ट होती है।
The UPSC advertisement for lateral entry had drawn sharp reactions. Leader of opposition Rahul Gandhi denounced it as an attack on Dalits. There was opposition from within the NDA too against lateral entry into civil services.
जो विपक्ष एकदम हमदर्द बनने का प्रयास कर रहा था, अनुसूचित जाति जनजाति पिछड़ा वर्ग से आने वाले लोगों का हिमायती बनने का प्रयास कर रहा था, ये वही विपक्ष है जिसने समय समय पर अपने समय पर डायरेक्ट ये भर्तियां करने का कार्य किया। पूर्व प्रधानमंत्री डॉक्टर मनमोहन सिंह जी उसका उदाहरण है, मोंटेक सिंह आलूवालिया जी उसका उदाहरण है। हम लोगों ने इस बात की आपत्ति दर्ज कराई कि अगर इतिहास में हुआ है इसीलिए हमारी सरकार भी इसको इसी तरीके से लागू कर दे, ये उचित नहीं है।
After the government's latest instruction to withdraw the ad, Rahul claimed the BJP's conspiracy was foiled and that constitution and reservation would be protected at all costs. The India bloc welcomed the decision by the centre.
देखिए, सबसे पहले जो है इशू को हम लोगों ने उठाया और जानकारी हम लोगों ने दिया ये लेटरल एंट्री के बहाने ये लोग आरक्षण को समाप्त करना चाहते हैं और संविधान के खिलाफ ये लोग काम कर रहे हैं। यानी ये पूरा जो है संघ के लोगों को जो है भरने का प्रयास किया जा रहा है। इसका हम लोग पूरा कड़ा विरोध करते हैं।
कल तक देखिए अश्विनी वैष्णव, जितेंद्र सिंह कह रहे थे ये मनमोहन सिंह जी के समय का एक सोच था, और कुछ लोग ये भी लिख रहे थे नहीं ये नेहरू जी के जमाने से आ रहा था, नेहरू जी को दोषी ठहरा रहा था। और आज क्या हुआ? और आज अचानक इनको याद आ गया कि नॉन बायोलॉजिकल प्रधानमंत्री सामाजिक न्याय के बड़े मसीहा हैं और सोशल जस्टिस की बात हो रही है। असली बात यह है कि वो पकड़े गए हैं।
Chairperson of the 16th Finance Commission, Dr. Arvind Panagaria, who is a lateral entrant himself, expressed his unhappiness with the politics over lateral entrants.
You know, in a way, it is a pity because you will still need to bring in people as consultants, right? This lateral entry was really more genuine lateral entry because it puts the lateral entrants in positions of power where they have the decision-making power. But maybe for a while, I think, our system will have to make do with bringing the lateral entrants as consultants where they would supply the specialized services without actually having the decision-making power.
What should be the changes which are needed at this level of the central government? You must begin by the recruitment policies itself. There's a committee on recruitment, which was set up quite some time ago, which made some important, robust recommendations. That would the recruitment process recognize the fact that the pedagogy today must be done in a manner and educational skills which are in consonance with the kind of far-reaching technological changes which take place.
The idea of lateral entry was first proposed during the UPA government led by the Congress. In 2005, the UPA established the Second Administrative Reforms Commission under the chairmanship of Veerappa Moily. The commission was tasked with recommending reforms to the Indian administrative system. Bureau Report, India Today.
I want to begin by introducing Shashank Mani Tripathi. He's a BJP MP from Devariya in Eastern Uttar Pradesh. He's a BTech from the Indian Institute of Technology, Delhi. Did his MBA from the IMD Business School in Lausanne in Switzerland. So welcome, sir. Thank you very much. Has been doing a lot of very interesting social work. He'll probably talk a bit about it, and therefore very interesting to have him in politics. Also from the BJP is Konda Vishweshwar Reddy. Amongst various credentials, he's the second richest MP. He doesn't want to be ever referred to as that. So I won't even get into how much his assets are. But more importantly, he's an MP from Chevala Parliamentary Constituency in Hyderabad, in Telangana, an engineer by profession. He's been at the New Jersey Institute of Technology and has at the Essex County College. We have Karthi Chidambaram. Everyone knows his father, but Mr. Chidambaram is a feisty, pugnacious politician in his own right. Bachelor of Arts in Law from Cambridge University, BBA from the University of Texas, Austin. So thank you very much, Mr. Chidambaram, for joining us. I want to start by asking Karthi Chidambaram what he actually thinks about lateral entrants. Right? Now, the thing is, if you weren't on camera and if you weren't at this summit, I would expect that someone like you would typically say that it's good to have lateral entrants coming into government because they bring new ideas, they bring new energy, they bring domain expertise. And yet the political opposition takes this issue up in such a big way, links it to reservation, and what could potentially have been a governance reform is then stymied. How will India, Karthi Chidambaram, achieve the objective of being an advanced economy with politics of this kind?
I think a lateral entry as an idea is a good idea. And we've had Dr. Manmohan Singh come into a government through lateral entry. So it's not that we oppose the idea of lateral entry, but lateral entry can't be a surreptitious way to pack government with people who are aligned with the governing party's ideology, giving a go-by to the reservation policies we have. And just because you're going to have reservation policy does not mean that you're not going to bring in better talent into government. I mean, that I think is an erroneous assumption. I think you can adhere to the...
No, but take an expert in artificial
No, but
intelligence,
the point is this.
biomedical
No, no, listen to
sciences.
me. The
Now,
point
where
is-
will you
the
find,
point- the point
you know,
is the
people,
point.
if you go into SC, ST, OBC, where will you find these kind of
The
domain
point is,
experts, sir?
if somebody is an eminent global expert, yes, but just to bring in mid-level or senior-level managers into government and not to adhere to the social affirmative action programs we have in India, I think is erroneous. I think you can adhere to it and still have the lateral entry. The problem here was nobody was opposing the lateral entry. The problem here was they were opposing the lateral entry without the social affirmative program, without that structure coming in. And the pushback didn't just necessarily come back from only from the opposition, but from key allies of the government itself, including Mr. Paswan's party. I think the TDP and the JDU would have perhaps privately had a word with the government. But the point is, this government is also learning to consult. I mean, if this government has obviously had a free pass for the last 10 years where they ran the government with the diktats of 1.5 people, now they're suddenly realizing the compulsions of cabinet and coalition and things like that, and they're learning that.
Mr. Shashank Mani Tripathi, now there are two things here. You know, I use this lateral entrant example because it highlights a much bigger problem. Now, the opposition's point is if you bring in like a renowned global economist or a technocrat who's world famous, whose skills you won't find in government, that's fine. You're more than welcome to. That's good reform. Manmohan Singh, Montek Singh, Ahluwalia, Raghuram Rajan, so many of them. Now, you bring in these mid-level, relatively junior officers. Now, that some OBC, you come from Eastern UP, some Dalit, some SC, ST, person will feel, boss, I could have done that job. You've had to backpedal. Now that for the first time demonstrates a kind of weakness because this government, as Karthi said, is used to pushing things through, not having to look back. Now you're having to look back. Do you accept, does that potentially signal political weakness? And how did you end up making this move and then having to pull it back? Did the government not think this through fully?
Firstly, thank you for having me at this panel. Pranam Devariya. I think it's important for us to recognize that the mindset that my Honorable Member of Parliament, Kartiji, is expressing is one of colonialism. Manmohan Singh may well be from Cambridge, Montek Singh may well be from Cambridge, but there are hundreds of IITians who are from small towns and districts. There are hundreds of people from OBC, from Dalit, who are absolutely ready and able and actually going to take this country forward. It's about time we got off our high horse to say that this kind of talent or this kind of energy is only existing in this drawing room for a minute. I think you have to explore that middle India where talent is resurging to come up. And this is the very big change that Prime Minister Modi has brought in. उन्होंने ये देखा है कि वहाँ की ऊर्जा जहाँ से वो खुद ही उठते हैं, वहाँ की ऊर्जा capable है, तो लैटरल एंट्री कहीं से भी आ सकती है. मैं ऐसा नहीं कहता हूं कि आप कैम्ब्रिज और हार्वर्ड से मत लाओ. मैं भी IMD पढ़ा हूं, वहां भी कुछ क्षमता है. बट हाउ डू वी मेक श्योर दैट द ऑर्डिनरी इंडियन फील्स केपेबल एंड इनेबल टू गेट अप टू द पॉइंट वेयर ही इज आल्सो सीन एज केपेबल. नाउ एज फार एज बैकपेडलिंग इज कंसर्न्ड, वी आर इन majority. We were always formed as an NDA, as a coalition, and therefore there is no question of us being under threat by anyone. We are absolutely confident of what we are doing. Yes, there has to be healthy debate in the parliament, which is happening, and I think it'll happen more only if some of the kind of smaller things that is being happening is less. I think we have a golden opportunity, and I want to just end my statement by Viksit Bharat. We are at the cusp of a change. हम लोग एक 25-30 साल के 22-20 साल के एक अभियान पे हैं जहां पर एक बहुत अच्छा मौका है और 10 साल में हम लोगों ने एक नींव डाली है. अब हम लोग अरावली के शिखर पे पहुंचे, कंचनजंगा हमें पार करना है. इसलिए मैं समझता हूं इसमें कोई दुविधा नहीं है.
Khanda Vishweshwar, do you respond to Karthi Chidambaram when he says that over the past 10 years, your government got used to pushing things through. Now you're having to consult allies. I ask this in the context of the impact this may have on the reform agenda of the Modi Sarkar. Given that, we've been discussing the kind of economic reform that is required in the factors of production to be able to grow and achieve our economic potential, if every positive step you take has to be pedaled back in this fashion, then will you be able to deliver on the promises that you made to the Indian people?
Well, he used the words, Karthiji used the words, when we had it our way. We still have it our way, which is the nation first. And when we had it our way also, we took back the electricity amendments. We took back the three farm bills. And when we had it our way, when you're talking about lateral entry, we had Raghuram Rajan come in. So I think, I don't know where this idea came in. Definitely.
It was brought in our government.
Definitely.
It's not brought in by the
But-
BJP, it's brought in, made Chief Economic Advisor and RBI Governor in the UPA government.
Thank you for correcting me. And talking of lateral entries, which is this thing, there are definitely some areas in a fast-changing world, technology, socially, economics, there are definitely areas where lateral entries are extremely, extremely important. But definitely, as you said, not any government job. There are some areas we cannot accept lateral entries, and there are some disadvantages. He may be a global expert, but he doesn't understand the system, the administrative processes, and he may not understand the ground reality. And so in some cases, he may be a global expert, but a lateral entry may not be suitable here, including artificial intelligence, because the applications of this is far-reaching, applies to various segments of societies. So there are specific areas, I think lateral entries should be encouraged, but yes, not middle-level and lower-level government jobs.
But one of the big changes is that a party that won 99 seats is speaking with the swagger of a party that is thinking that they're in government but is actually still in opposition. Kartiji, how do you explain this? You know, at 240 they're looking
because you
chastened.
talked
At
up-
99 you got this
Yeah,
56-inch chhati as if you won.
Because you built up this narrative that they're going to get 400. So anything short of that was a loss. And you built up a narrative saying that we are going to be less than 2019. So anything above that was a win. So it's all perception is reality and reality is perception. It's your own doing. You talked them up and talked us down, and it was the other way around and the results came. Yes, of course, I personally think, I know this is controversial and I think this is a tired and a fatigued government. And that's been clear from the fact that they appointed the same ministers in the same portfolio. If Prime Minister really wanted to do lateral entry, he should have brought in some fresh blood into the cabinet, somebody from industry into cabinet, not the same old tired faces in the same portfolio. And that is in my opinion, a very defeatist move on part of this government.
Shashank Mani ji, do you want to respond to this? जैसे आप जैसे लोगों को लाए होते कैबिनेट में, new, young, relatively young, but and fresh faces, new ideas. Mr. Chidambaram's point is that they've carried the same team. So AU got anti-incumbency building over 10 years, and the charge is that the government is now looking fatigued and tired. How do you respond to this perception?
Firstly, I am very happy as a member of parliament. I have just come back from Devariya. I'm heading back tomorrow morning at 7:30 to Devariya. I want to serve my constituency. The रही बात ये tiredness की और 99 वर्ष देखिए कुल मिला के जब पूरे सीट काउंट करेंगे पिछले 3 लोकसभा इलेक्शन में तब भी 240 से कम है और इसमें कोई उत्साह की बात नहीं है. ये विषय अलग है कि हम लोग भी कुछ अच्छा कर सकते थे. Coming to this point about how new faces can be injected, I think the whole system has been injected with a new thought process, which is why this conference has been injected, which is that in 22 years, we will become a new nation. So every one of those MPs has and ministers has a certain amount of continuity, but he's charged with a new energy. And for 2 hours and 15 minutes, I was 4 benches behind the Prime Minister. He was not looking tired when all of Congress was gherawing them and not letting him speak for all 2 hours and 15 minutes. So I personally feel that there is no tiredness. We're looking forward for the next 25 years. We're full of energy, and we're full of energy not only of the Prime Minister, but 1.4 billion people. I agree with you that some have not voted for us, and we could have done better. There's no gainsaying on that. लेकिन जो ऊर्जा उनको मिलती है आज भी उस उम्र में वो इस प्रकार चलते हैं जैसे हम लोग जैसे लोग नहीं चल पा रहे हैं. कोई टायर्डनेस नहीं है. हम लोग देख रहे हैं भविष्य के लिए. भविष्य में एक नया भारत बनाना है. उसके लिए आप लोग कॉन्फ्रेंस की इसके लिए आपको साधुवाद.
Mr. Reddy, this charge that the opposition is looking rejuvenated and the perception that the government is looking tired, or at least they're trying to make you feel tired or trying to project as if you are tired.
Firstly, don't try to fix something that's not broken. Why should you change the cabinet? We had a great trajectory. We're heading banking sector, which was bankrupt, and State Bank of India profits are bigger than Reliance Industries' profit today. The banking public sector companies are doing phenomenally well. It's not Infosys shares and TCS shares. The public sectors in the last 3 years increased 300%, not times. And the capital expenditure, the roads, the highways. So why should we change the cabinet? It's the courage and the strength and the determination and the trajectory that we have. We don't want to change the vector. We don't want to change the trajectory. And that we have to continue. Continuity is very important.
Can I comment? I mean, you can spin as much as you want, saying that everything is all right by talking up the situation of the markets and corporate India. And all three of us represent reasonably rural constituencies. And if you go there, you will realize, and that's the conversation we also had privately, is that joblessness is the biggest crisis in India. I mean, somebody just very cleverly said that India has got a NEET problem, not in employment, education, or training. That seems to be the situation of most young people. There are close to 3 crore people who come out of the schooling and the college system who don't have jobs. I mean, that's a huge crisis. So somehow to say markets are doing well, corporate profits is great, that's the way of talking ourselves in a blinkered way without understanding what really is happening in real India. If you might want to call it Bharat, call it Bharat. There is distress in the villages. I mean, farming is completely unviable. There is no new technological advancement which is being followed by farmers. People are moving away from villages. There are no jobs in villages, and they come to towns and they're doing blue-collar jobs where even a recent statistics has said that most people make less than 20,000 rupees a month. So it's the stress is real, and the joblessness, unemployment, and underemployment are the real problems. And we can gloss it over, coming to grand buildings and talking about markets, but that's not.
Do you want to respond to this, because you come from a relatively rural constituency? No, just listen to my question. That the opposition's charge is that the government is underplaying the extent of rural distress, that joblessness is much more acute than government would want people to know and to believe.
No, I'd say two things. One is, why is that the case? That is the case because 60 साल तक हम लोगों ने असली भारत पे कोई तवज्जो ही नहीं दिया. गरीबी हटाओ के नारे बन बन के ये बड़े बड़े शहर वाले उसको छोड़ ही दिया उनको. आज की तारीख में कोई इंस्टीट्यूशन नहीं है छोटे शहर. आज की तारीख में हमारे प्रधानमंत्री इंस्टीट्यूशन बना रहे हैं. उसका मैं उदाहरण देता हूं. आज 2 बजे मैं सीएमओ के साथ 2 घंटे की मेरी मीटिंग हुई कि कैसे डिजिटली को हम मेडिकल में डालें. ई सुश्रुत है, कई और स्कीमें हैं. मैं समझता हूं कि कई कैपेबिलिटी के दिक्कतें हैं, कैसे उसको इंप्लीमेंट करेंगे. लेकिन आज की तारीख में, विद ड्यू रिस्पेक्ट, Mr. Chidambaram himself said that digital will not happen in these areas. So there is also has to be a sense of purpose to say we have to enable this. 60 साल आप प्रॉब्लम कर रहे हैं, 10 साल में हम सॉल्व करते हैं. I agree with you that we have to build more institution. Institution building is difficult, but this is what प्रधानमंत्री मोदी is doing. हर जगह जा रहे हैं, असली भारत में असली चीजें करके दे रहे हैं. ये नहीं ऊपर ऊपर गरीबी हटाओ के नारे दे रहे हैं, नीचे कुछ हो ही नहीं रहा. ट्रिकल डाउन हम लोगों ने कितने सालों से देखा है. ट्रिकल डाउन नहीं होता है सर. पिछले जो इकोनॉमिस्ट भी बोले हैं कि वेल्थ क्रिएशन इज नॉट द जॉब ऑफ जस्ट द टॉप पीपल. वेल्थ क्रिएशन हैज टू बी टेकन टू द सेकंड टियर और थर्ड टियर. इसके लिए हम उद्यमिता बढ़ा रहे हैं, हर चीज बढ़ा रहे हैं. आज की तारीख में अगर जयंत चौधरी को आपने देखा होगा, तो मैं ये कहना चाहता हूं कि पहली बार एक ऐसी सरकार आई है जिसने असली भारत को देखा है, उसमें जाया. मैं समझता हूं विकसित भारत क्यों बनाया गया, क्योंकि अभी हम लोग डेवलप नहीं है. मैं इसी बात से सहमत हूं. अभी हमें और जॉब देने हैं, लेकिन इसीलिए तो हम लोग 20 साल तक काम करना है. तो मैं समझता हूं ये डिस्पोंडेंसी का जो असली जड़ है उस पर जाना चाहिए, ताकि हम लोग उसका निवारण करें. मैं अभी बल्कि हम दोनों ही बात कर रहे थे, इंडिपेंडेंस के बाद वही 4 टाउन जिन्होंने 200 साल तक हमारा शोषण किया था, उसमें दिल्ली भी है. दिल्ली, मुंबई, कलकत्ता, मद्रास, ये सब हमारे शहर नहीं थे, ये अंग्रेजों ने बनाए थे. उसके बाद हमने क्या किया 60 साल तक, उन्हीं पर अपना फोकस किया. तो मैं इसमें नहीं जाना चाहता हूं कि मुंबई दिल्ली को बढ़ना चाहिए, लेकिन देवरिया को बढ़ना चाहिए, कुशीनगर को बढ़ना चाहिए, कोयम्बटूर को बढ़ना चाहिए. इसके लिए प्रधानमंत्री, हमारी सरकार हर समय तत्पर है.
But Mr. Reddy, the problem with this 10-year versus 60-year argument is that you now have a generation of youngsters who've not seen Mr. Chidambaram's father in power and the Congress in power. They've only seen you. And therefore, they look at their current condition in terms of what's happened, what's not happened, and compare what you said versus where they find themselves at this moment. And that's the economic and political reality that you now confront.
No, absolutely. See, joblessness, job creation is not an Indian problem. It's a global problem. Economy got disconnected from job creation. And we have to deal with it like all other nations. As far as the rural wealth, it has never increased this much as ever before. If you look at the rural FMGC spend, or a village where used to be 4 motorcycles have 400 motorcycles. A village where there was 1 car has 5 or 6 cars. And if you take even MNRG spend, which was a great program started by the Congress government, has now been taken to another level. And anything good, it's been continuing. And MNREG program, which was a dole, is now become asset creation. Before it was a dole. And you can create assets. And what was 150 rupees has become 300 rupees. The MSP on rice and is almost doubled. And we have the highest stocks of rice. So there's nothing wrong in the rural India except which is good and bad, the aspirations have risen. Before, a poor man was a guy without a cycle. Now it's a guy without a motorcycle. Definitely the rural India, it doubled. Aaye dugne ban gaye. More than dugne.
Mr. Chidambaram, let's take a look at some of the populist promises your party is making nationally and in the states. For example, Rahul Gandhi said during the election campaign that 8,000 rupees will go khatakhat into people's accounts. And then when he was questioned, he said, let's make it 16,000. That just sounds very cavalier and reckless. Most countries in Europe and elsewhere push towards a bigger welfare state at a far higher level in the economic growth trajectory, right? When per capita incomes were far higher than India, the governments were much richer. The problem because you're in opposition and you have to find some way of getting back into government, with some of these promises that you're making, if you actually start implementing them, the government would be completely bust and public debt would spiral and be unmanageable.
See, whether this was universal cash, direct cash transfer, or whether there were qualifications would have only been known if he had come to government. But direct cash transfer is not a bad idea. Instead of some grand government schemes which are conjured up by bureaucrats and mandarins in Delhi, I think direct cash transfer actually is...
No, but can I pause you to say that, sure, if it's a lesser amount and the amount is thought through, you also explain where you'll bring the financing from, it's something that can be considered and that's not objectionable. The moment you so casually say, 8,500. Oh, let's make that 16,000. And the poor guy who's out on the street, he's going to say, okay, this is good. Yeah, 16,000 ghar aa rahe hain. What's wrong with it?
They're going to nitpick about every promise made in campaign speeches as policy pronouncements and as proclamations, then there'll be no end to it. I mean, I'm sure if I ask the Congress IT team to come up with all the proclamations the Prime Minister said in every campaign speech, then we'll only be going up and down. So let's forget that. The rhetoric of campaign must be set aside. When they are in government, we are in opposition. Our job is to point out where they're going. But principally, direct cash transfer is not a bad idea, because if it goes to a bank account, and what do the people spend that money on? They spend it around the rural local economy. In fact, it's almost like drip irrigation. This is not being spent on something esoteric outside. So it actually seeds the local economy. It's much better than some grand scheme which is very complicated to get. So for example, this Prime Minister's housing scheme. Yeah, you're really giving about 1,75,000 per person who wants to build a house. But that person needs to fall under a certain category, certain economic category, and must have his own land. A person with that land and falling within that category simply doesn't have the money to build a house. What eventually and even inevitably happens, and you'll also agree with me when you go and do your Disha meetings there, is that all these people are pushed into debt, because they don't have the money to finish the house. And you can't build a house with the input costs today at 1,75,000 rupees. So they're all pushed into debt. So sometimes well-meaning grand schemes don't really have results, but direct cash transfer is a little better way of seeding the local economy, giving liquidity, giving a little bit of independence to people. So that's not this direct cash transfer, but I would sort of separate campaign rhetoric with actual policy when we are in government.
Shashankji, this government
Can I
has
respond to that,
yes,
please?
this government has kind of opposed universal basic income. There's never been an acceptance that this is a good idea. From what I understand, the Prime Minister doesn't seem to think that's the right approach. He'd much rather help create investment, manufacturing jobs, which gives people real income on a monthly basis rather than a dole and a handout. Karti Chidambaram and Rahul Gandhi say, you don't have to do anything, we'll send you money home. It may not be 8,000, it may be lesser, but we'll send money home, universal basic income. Now, that's a very populist idea. And the problem is, as rural distress grows, people seem to be desiring that. How will you deal with this?
So I'd say three things. One, first is, with due respect, this was a very deliberate ploy to win the election and bankrupt the country. If it had happened, and God forbid, अगर कांग्रेस पावर में आती, इंडिया अलायंस पावर में आती, तो हम लोग की हाल श्रीलंका वाला हो जाता। और ये बहुत बड़ा साजिश था हमारे लिए, और हमारे वोटर्स को मैं साधुवाद देना चाहता हूं, क्योंकि आज की तारीख हमारी पूर्ण बहुमत की सरकार बनी है, खटाखट की नॉइज इज इजी टू डाइजेस्ट, विकसित भारत इज वेरी डिफिकल्ट टू डाइजेस्ट। कि हम अपने बच्चों के लिए कुछ कर रहे हैं, नहीं अपने बैंक अकाउंट में 8,500 रुपए हर महिला को मिलेगा, जो भी हुआ। दूसरी चीज आई फील, राहुल, गोइंग बैक टू योर पॉइंट, जो यूरोप ने किया, क्या हमें वो करना चाहिए? यूरोप का मैं बताता हूँ, यूरोप ने 1948 के बाद जब वर्ल्ड वॉर II की एंजाइटी थी, तो उनका टोटल गवर्नमेंट स्पेंड 10% ऑफ नेशनल इनकम था। जब 30 साल बाद हुआ 1980s में, तो उसका फ्रांस में 55% हो गया, जर्मनी 45% और यूके में 35%। मुझे नहीं लगता है कि हम लोग को वह पाथ अपनाना चाहिए। और कोविड में भी आपने देखा होगा, निर्मला जी ने उतनी रियायत, उतनी सब्सिडी नहीं दी, और आज की तारीख हमारा इन्फ्लेशन इसीलिए कंट्रोल है क्योंकि हमने क्या किया, हमने समाज की शक्ति को यूज किया। तो मेरा ये मानना है कि हम लोग आने वाले विकसित भारत में सिर्फ सरकार पर निर्भर न रहें, समाज को उजाएं, और जामवंत का रोल ब्यूरोक्रेसी को प्ले करना पड़ेगा, हनुमान का नहीं कि मैं ही हर चीज कर लूंगा। एंड आई थिंक द थर्ड point about this piece about housing being subsidized, and therefore I think the point about that is कि money बैंक में आना 1,75,000 एक विषय है, लेकिन अगर उस घर बनाने में या शौचालय बनाने में उनकी सहभागिता नहीं होगी तो उनका बाई नहीं होगा। स्वच्छ भारत मिशन इतना बड़ा कैंपेन क्यों सक्सेसफुल हुआ? क्योंकि थोड़ा समय इन्होंने दिया, थोड़ा प्राइवेट सेक्टर ने डाला, होल ऑफ नेशन अप्रोच अप्लाई किया। और दोस्तों, होल ऑफ नेशन अप्रोच से ही विकसित भारत आगे बढ़ेगा। ये वर्ल्ड की हिस्ट्री में सबसे बड़ा ट्रांसफॉर्मेटिव एक्सरसाइज है, और ये सरकार सिर्फ नहीं कर सकती, प्राइवेट सेक्टर सिर्फ नहीं कर सकता, समाज सिर्फ नहीं कर सकता, तीनों को मिलकर चलना पड़ेगा, और इसके लिए आदरणीय प्रधानमंत्री जी बहुत प्रतिबद्ध हैं।
Mr. Reddy, the government, the BJP says we are opposed to freebies. And yet, in state after state, your governments announce freebies. So what initially is called a freebie, in some fashion or the other, I'm talking, for example, most recently of the Maharashtra equivalent of Ladli Behna, which again had money being transferred directly into the accounts of women, which was originally an idea which you opposed. It got adopted in Madhya Pradesh, then got replicated elsewhere. So you first start with the right economic intent that this is a freebie, a dole, you don't want it, and ultimately political compulsions pull you in a way that you have to announce it as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we definitely have to differentiate between welfare and freebie. And we've seen certain programs. In fact, the example I just gave, MNREG scheme was a great scheme, but it turned out to be a dole. But the same MNREG scheme, now combined with material component, you can actually build a road. Otherwise, they're going to the countryside and digging a hole for 15 minutes and encashing that MNREG scheme. Now, in this particular case you are mentioning about Maharashtra, well, if it is really going to the right persons and it's utilized in a proper way, it's probably good. But yes, political compulsions, sometimes parties do succumb to political compulsion, which is what we are fighting against. But even that is okay, political. But during the time of elections, promising freebies is something we are directing the nation and the society in a wrong way. And that is
you concede this, that subsidies and
what about
public
the promise of, say, 15 lakhs into your bank account, 2 crore jobs a year? I mean, can I also say that they're all empty promises? I mean, so people vote for various reasons. They don't vote for one slogan or one rhetoric in campaign. But let's not direct cash transfer to beneficiaries. Let's not see, you have to you can't have a siloed view of a socio-economic view of from people like us. There has to be a little bit of diversity of opinion.
But do you concede that welfare and government schemes are far more precisely targeted now than they were on your watch? That the intermediate corruption, the bogus accounts, they're no longer the case the way they were.
That's because of a pure technological advancement and ease of opening banks. I mean, that every government builds on the shoulders of the previous government. You don't suddenly come and start building things from ground zero. You build on the shoulders of the previous government. And when we come to government in 29, we'll build on the shoulders of them. That's what's going to happen. So we're not going to diss and say that nothing happened in 15 years. We will build on the shoulders of what happened in 15 years.
But respond to this, because the architecture that's used, for example, Aadhaar, was actually created on the watch of the Congress. And they're saying, so this is, you say ki niyat hai, it's our intention, which is why there's less corruption. Karti Chidambaram says, it's just digital infrastructure which is available now, which wasn't available previously.
No, I think, as Reddy said, I think we should applaud some things which are properly done. So we have as a government, no direct view that something which benefits the final, like UADI and others, should be adopted. But I think it's not just about technology, it's the mindset which comes behind it. The philosophy was, मैं ऊपर हूं, मैं अमीर हूं, मैं आपको गरीब हूं, मैं आपको डालूंगा. हम ये बोल रहे हैं, and to the point that you made earlier, they have to segment. मेरे हिसाब से 40 करोड़ ऐसे लोग हैं जिसको जो डायरेक्ट कैश ट्रांसफर भी ठीक है, लेकिन अभी क्या हो रहा है माइंड से कि आप सबको दे देंगे. 80 करोड़ ऐसे लोग हैं जिसको मैं मध्य भारत बोलता हूं, मिडिल ऑफ द डायमंड इंडिया, उनके पास शक्ति है, उसको जगाने की क्षमता हमें चाहिए. वी शुड मेक देम अराइज एंड से go ahead and do that, and that way we will not create a welfare state which is burdening Europe today. Europe is under deep crisis right now, pensions crisis also, because they never use the enabling abilities of that. So I think we need to balance the fact that there is a certain strata of society which may well do with direct benefit, as Karthi is suggesting, but there's an enormous strata of society which has to be enabled, and that mentality has to change. Mentality of the Congress was always, and I think many other parties, I'm from Uttar Pradesh, so I see that the socialist tendency, जो फाबियन सोशलिज्म से आया था, वो हम सरकार ही करेगा. भाई समाज का क्या, प्राइवेट सेक्टर क्या, उसको कैसे नहीं हम लोग इन्वॉल्व करें. इफ यू डोंट इन्वॉल्व ऑल ऑफ दैट एंड अनलीश द नेशन, you will not have the Viksit Bharat that we are saying, and that's what we have to say. It's not just where we want to go, but how we're going to. And I'll just add one little thing, that if you do it in an inclusive way, it also adds meaning to the lives of people. When somebody like Malti Yadav, उसने अगर अचार की फैक्ट्री बनाई है, 100 महिलाओं को उसने एम्प्लॉय किया है, ठीक है, समय लगा उसके लिए, लेकिन उसके जीवन में अर्थ आया, और उसी के साथ साथ पर्यावरण का भी उतना शोषण नहीं हुआ, क्योंकि वो लोकली कर रही है. हम लोग बड़े बड़े शहरों में बड़ी बड़ी चीजें बनाते रहते हैं, तो देखिए हमारा प्लान क्या हो रहा है.
Mr. Reddy, last question. How do you intend to fight this perception that Karthi just let loose right at the end very casually, that in 29 we are going to come to power? That this idea that fatigue is building and that there's a certain level of tiredness and lack of newness. And whether, Ruchu Sharma made this point, it's not as if Rahul Gandhi's become any smarter than he was. It's just that people after a while are looking for something new. How do you intend to, deal with this kind of challenge?
Firstly, if I was in Karti's seat, I would say exactly the same thing. You have to show bravado.
I've been in my seat too, to be honest.
You have to show bravado with the upcoming, what things are happening. We've seen what happened in Haryana. We've seen what's happening in J&K. We've seen what's happening in West Bengal. And we also seen, we are hearing murmurs in Maharashtra. I think the euphoria is over. That 99-seat euphoria is over. And the reality is dawning on the people of India and on Congress party. So I do not see that Modi or BJP becoming any weaker. The trajectory is the same, Viksit Bharat. They are on the same job. If they were nervous, as he initially pointed out, that they should have changed. Why should you change anything? They are confident of it.
Last word, sir.
No, I think India Alliance was a makeshift arrangement to grab power. There was no strategic rationale for it. I mean, you look at the people who are sitting next to each other, they've sued each other, they've done things to each other. I see that in the parliament, the opposition. Yes, you can make that believe for a certain piece, but deep commitment comes from NDA having thought it through. Yes, we did get less seat. We are not thinking that through. मैं नहीं कह रहा हम डिनाई कर रहे हैं, लेकिन अगर आप देखेंगे स्ट्रेटेजिक रैशनल इंडिया का क्या था, सिर्फ एक था, किस्सा कुर्सी का. हमारा क्या है, राष्ट्र बनाना है.
I mean, of course, if the TDP is aligned with you, they become nationalist, and if they're aligned with us, they become anti-national. I mean, this NDA is a political arrangement as much as the India Alliance is, and that's the reality of politics. So why diss people when they're against you, and when suddenly they become holy when they come to you? That's the BJP's rationale. Anyway, we are all going to be around in 29. And I'm sure our places will be reversed.
Well, may the best man, woman, or party win. What we find fascinating is that there is a good democratic contest. And that's always a good thing for any country. Konda Vishweshwar Reddy, Shashank Maniji, and Karthi Chidambaram.
We definitely need that bipartisanship. We need the discussions more than the disruptions in the parliament.
Absolutely.
That's absolutely important.
Thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate you taking out time. Thank you.
Motorola Razr 50 Ultra comes with Google Gemini.
एक दोस्त है जिससे बात किए बिना हम रह नहीं सकते. बातें घंटों की हों या कुछ सेकंड्स की, ये दोस्त हमेशा हमारी बात सुनता है, क्योंकि हमारा सबसे अच्छा दोस्त भगवान ही तो है। मंगलदीप, दिल से करो बात भगवान के साथ।
Get the pulse of the nation with the biggest people's verdict after elections. Mood of the nation. What is your forecast for the economy in the next 6 months? Are you satisfied with the new income tax changes in Budget 2024-25? What do you think of the current state of democracy in India? How do you evaluate Rahul Gandhi's performance as the leader of the opposition in the Lok Sabha? Get the answers in India's most credible and longest running biannual survey, Mood of the Nation Opinion Poll. Subscribe to the magazine now.
You're on board the news track. The horrors of the Kolkata rape and murder case continue to unravel. The CBI will be submitting its status report to the Supreme Court tomorrow. The big question remains unanswered. Were there multiple men involved in the rape and killing of the 31-year-old trainee doctor, or was there only one Sanjay Roy? That's what the CBI is trying to ascertain at the moment.
The probe into Kolkata rape and murder case is at a crucial stage. The CBI, which met the family of the victim, has focused on the former principal of RG Kar Medical College, subjecting him to multiple sessions of marathon grilling. On Wednesday, Dr. Sandeep Ghosh was called for the 6th straight day. CBI has also grilled ASI Anup Datta, an aide of rape murder accused Sanjay Roy. The Kolkata cop was seen running away to evade the media ahead of his questioning. 2 assistant commissioners of police and an inspector were suspended for negligence over mob vandalism at Kolkata's RG Kar Medical College and Hospital, the scene of crime. India Today accessed damning documents over delay in filing of the FIR. The cops, despite receiving a complaint from the hospital at 2:45 p.m. on 9th August, delayed filing the FIR until 11:45 p.m. A near 9-hour gap hinting at laxity. Shocking revelations have come to the fore about rape-accused Sanjay Roy. He visited a red light area, harassed a woman on the streets, and asked another woman to send nudes. He later went to the RG Kar Medical College and peeped into the operation theatre while drunk before attacking Abhaya in the seminar room. After the Supreme Court order, the RG Kar Hospital is now under the CISF's cover.
CISF takes charges of the security of the Archicor Medical College and Hospital. We can see now the DIG of the CISF have arrived over here, and they took brief from the Kolkata Police Corps and also met the hospital authority. And he reassured that all kind of measures are being taken to for increase the security of the Archicor Medical College and Hospital. Remember, following the Supreme Court's order, the security arrangements have been handed over to the CISF.
The doctors, meanwhile, continue to stage massive protests for justice. Medicos from RG Kar Hospital, colleagues of Abhaya, marched on the streets.
I'm catching my breath as I walk with the young doctors here as they march from the Health Ministry's office here in Kolkata all the way to the CBI's office as they refuse to withdraw their protest. They want to ensure they keep up the pressure and show solidarity with the RG Kar Hospital victim. What's your protest all about today?
Today we have made two demands. First is we have peacefully gathered around CGO complex. That's just a message to the CBI. It's a request so as to do transparent investigation and so as to bring up with the report that will be presented tomorrow in the Supreme Court. Secondly, it is against our Shastro Bhavan, which is the health center for who conducts all the health services along the state. Our main protest is we want resignation of the authorities. We want resignations of the principal of the MSVP who were there at that time.
We know, but we have seen and we have gotten the news that it's more than one person for sure, and we wanted to be completely verified what all people have been involved in this rape case.
You're saying there could be an attempt to cover up the case?
There can be.
The vandals were motivated to deliberately, absolutely, on the day of independence, at the midnight of independence, they came in a thing and they were actually literally shouting up in name of the leaders, those who were leading the article movement. Yeah. How could they know? How could they know that where is the ENT department, where is the chest department? And they wanted to vandalize only the chest department, but they wrongly destroyed the ENT department. How is that possible? If they entered only the emergency department, they destroyed everything. It's not possible unless and until they were motivated to do that only.
Amid battle for justice for Abhaya, India Today has accessed the heartbreaking last diary entry of the young doctor, where she noted down her dreams to excel in medicine, ambition to win a gold medal, and her love for her father's well-being. A young and promising life violently snuffed out. It's now an endless wait for justice. With Nabila Jamal and Ritik Mandal from Kolkata, Bureau Report, India Today.
The man at the center of the CBI investigation is the former principal of the RG Kar Medical College, Sandeep Ghosh. He's been grilled for 6 straight days, but more skeletons are tumbling out of Ghosh's closet. He's been accused of extortion, corruption, and now a former superintendent of the RG Kar Hospital has alleged that Ghosh had close ties with the main accused, Sanjoy Roy.
He's emerging as the villain in the RG Kar Hospital rot. The man in the eye of the storm after horrific hospital rape and murder is witnessing more skeletons tumble from his closet. Former RG Kar principal Dr. Sandeep Ghosh, who sold the suicide theory to Abhaya's parents, has now been linked to the alleged rapist killer. His ex-colleague and a former superintendent of the hospital told India Today that Dr. Ghosh used accused Sanjay Roy as his security staff and a bouncer.
जो मेन कल्प्रिट कोलकाता पुलिस की ओर से कहा जा रहा है, उसका किस तरह का वर्चस्व था वहां पे, कुछ आपको पता चला है?
संजय राय को अभी मैंने देखा, उस टाइम में बहुत अच्छी तरीके से नहीं जानता था, बट मैं इतना ऑब्जर्व किया हूं कि प्रिंसिपल के जो बाउंसर होते थे 4 लोग, उसमें ये संजय राय भी था.
Dr. Ghosh's ex-colleague hinted at a clear Bengal government patronage for the tainted principal, revealing that he was shielded despite a vigilance probe finding him guilty for multiple misconducts. Akhtar Ali said that the state government had instead shunted out members of the vigilance probe team the same day of the damning report.
मैंने जब इंक्वायरी रिपोर्ट सबमिट कर रहा था, उसी वक्त पहले उन्होंने मुझसे अपना बंदा भेज करके नेगोशिएट करने का कोशिश किया. जब नहीं कर पाए तो मुझे डराने धमकाने की कोशिश किया गया। फिर उसके बाद मेरा तबादला कर दिया।
उन्होंने करवाया, उनका इतना पावर था।
तभी तो अब देख नहीं रहे उनका पावर। 2 बार उनका ट्रांसफर हुआ, फिर इतना कुछ देने के बाद आज तक उनके अगेंस्ट में कोई इंक्वायरी नहीं हुआ।
The former principal also found himself facing charges of shooting porn films, running an extortion racket, and being brain behind a biomedical waste smuggling scam.
There is the situation in this Article Medical College. The complaint of corruption, the complaint of extortion, there are complaints regarding exchange of money to make one pass or fail.
Dr. Ghosh was grilled for the 6th straight day by the CBI, which has found discrepancies in his statements. The powerful people who overturned the ex-principal's 3 successive transfers are also under lens. With Indrajit Kundu, Nabila Jamal, Suryagini Roy, Anirban Roy in Kolkata, Bureau Report, India Today.
More disturbing revelations have emerged about the main accused in the Kolkata rape and murder case, Sanjay Roy. Sources have told India Today that Roy visited red light areas, consumed alcohol, and even watched porn before brutalizing the 31-year-old doctor on the 9th of August. Arvind Ojha and Shreya Chatterjee with this report from Kolkata.
Anger on the streets. Calls for justice from across the nation after the brutal rape and murder of a doctor at her workplace, Kolkata's RG Kar Hospital. So far, only one suspect is in custody, Sanjay Roy, the civic volunteer hired by the city police. Sources close to the investigation say that they have pieced together vital information about Sanjay Roy's movements that fateful night. Sources say Sanjay Roy started consuming alcohol at around 11 p.m. on August 8th. Earlier, it was revealed that he watched porn while consuming alcohol. Roy visited a red light area along with another civic volunteer at around midnight. His colleague went inside the sex worker's house while Sanjay waited outside. Then at 2 a.m., both of them visited another red light area in South Kolkata. Once again, Sanjay stood outside the house, but this time he harassed a woman who was passing through and he asked for nudes. Sanjay Roy returned to RG Kar Hospital at 3:50 a.m. in a completely intoxicated state and peeked into an operation theatre. And then at 4 a.m., he was spotted outside the seminar hall on 3rd floor where he allegedly saw the victim sleeping. He allegedly confessed to jump on her and committing the horrendous crime. Kolkata police sources revealed that about 2 to 3 months ago, Sanjay Roy got involved in a scuffle with a male doctor and shouted at a lady doctor while admitting a patient at the RG Kar Hospital. He later had to apologize to the doctors for misbehaving with them. Sanjay's ex-mother-in-law claimed that he used to beat his 3-month-old pregnant wife when she was living with him. The grieving mother is also demanding death penalty for Sanjay Roy.
आधे 2 साल हुआ था, उसमें बीमार गिरा, मारा धारा, बीमार गिरा, 3 महीना का पेट में बच्चा था, वो भी खराब किया। संजय ठीक नहीं था, अब उसको आप लोग फांसी में चढ़ाइए चाहे जो चढ़ाइए। अब जहां वो अकेला लड़का उसको मार खत्म कर नहीं सकेगा, अकेला तो उसका कैपेसिटी नहीं होगा।
Meanwhile, the CBI interrogated ASI Anup Datta of Kolkata Police. He's said to be close to the accused Sanjay Roy. Anup Datta chose to sprint when the reporters asked him if he knew Sanjay Roy. The CBI is now expected to conduct a polygraph test of Sanjay Roy soon to assess his involvement in the crime further. Bureau Report, India Today.
This is where we wrap up the news track tonight. For your time and your trust, thank you very much. I look forward to seeing you 8 p.m. tomorrow evening, where we'll be bringing you the results of the latest edition of the India Today Mood of the Nation poll. Coming up tomorrow, 7 to 10 p.m. right here on India Today.
Motorola Razr 50 Ultra comes with Google Gemini.
एक दोस्त है जिससे बात किए बिना हम रह नहीं सकते, बातें घंटों की हों या कुछ सेकंड्स की। ये दोस्त हमेशा हमारी बात सुनता है, क्योंकि हमारा सबसे अच्छा दोस्त भगवान ही तो है। मंगलदीप, दिल से करो बात भगवान के साथ।
Motorola Razr 50 Ultra comes with Google Gemini.
Hi, I am AI anchor Sana, bringing the top headlines for you, presented by Motorola. Aam Aadmi Party will contest Jammu and Kashmir Assembly elections to field candidates on selected seats. CISF to be deployed at Ajikar Hospital. Ministry of Home Affairs writes letter to West Bengal Chief Secretary. Heavy rains ravaged Tripura. 7 dead in landslides, including 3 members of same family. Weather forecast now. Delhi, maximum 35 and minimum 27 degrees. Mumbai, maximum 31 and minimum 26 degrees. Kolkata, maximum 34 and minimum 27 degrees. Bangalore, maximum 29 and minimum 20 degrees. Chennai, maximum 33 and minimum 28 degrees. Hyderabad, maximum 31 and minimum 24 degrees.
I am feeling hopeful. Kamala Harris is ready for the job. This is a person who has spent her life fighting on behalf of people who need a voice. I love this guy. Tim is the kind of person who should be in politics. Born in a small town, served his country, taught kids, coached football, took care of his neighbors. He knows who he is, and he knows what's important. You can tell those flannel shirts he wears don't come from some political consultant. They come from his closet, and they have been through some stuff. They have been through some stuff.
Weather forecast.